Thank you. It's very interesting. Thank you very much again. And we are approaching to the end of this session. Now we would like to provide an opportunity for the audience to ask questions, comments, remarks, or anything else that I think worth mentioning in connection with the lectures that we heard today. So, any questions, remarks? Okay. You can even come closer and speak to the microphone. Oh, we have got another one. Right.
So I have a question for Billy Room. The question would be what behavior signals can
Sorry, it's really difficult to hear.
Maybe it's better now?
I don't think the mic's connected. I'm not sure if this mic is connected because really can't hear you at all.
I'll put it here.
You can change. Just a minute.
So can you hear it better now?
Come closer, please.
And now?
Are you hearing us?
Yes, your mic works perfectly. It's very clear. But then all the other voices are, I think, gathered by the same mic, so it's very blurry.
Okay. Our presenter is coming closer, and I suppose that it will be okay. Just have a seat.
Okay. So I have a quick question for Billy Groom. So I'm interested if what are the exact behavior signals that you can use for dogs to know exactly for sure that they entered that intrinsic self-motivating state during the training.
Sorry, just to clarify the question, which behaviors I address or which behaviors show intrinsic motivation? Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Sorry. The second one, which behaviors show intrinsic motivation? Which exact behaviors can you say that these show intrinsic motivation from a dog? Okay, that's a really good question. So what we did was we took dogs that over an extensive period. We took dogs that did well with positive reinforcement training during puppyhood, and then as they moved into adolescence, their caregivers were seeing a decrease in connection with using the same method that was effective during puppyhood was less effective during adolescence. And so when we switched over to follow the platform of cognitive behavioral therapy, what happened was as we went through the process, which is not the common is a 4-day, 10-day, 3-week period. Once you get past the 3-week period, of that group, of that test group, 74% hit a state of intrinsic motivation. Over 90%, I'd have to look it up, did have improved, they all had improved bonding, and they all had improved behavior, so some of the behaviors that were challenging were addressed. The intrinsic motivation didn't necessarily hit in order to address the behaviors. When you're dealing with pet parents, often pet parents will stop when the behaviors are addressed. That's just natural. But often the intrinsic motivation naturally occurred with the dog. And to get to your question, intrinsic motivation can be seen when a dog just chooses to make a decision where they don't necessarily, if we take the example of reactive to a human in a fearful or uncomfortable way, let's say, they would decide on their own to perhaps go sniff a tree or do something else. It's not based on a reinforcement or a motivation. They just choose to continue to walk. They don't necessarily choose to like the human or go up to the human or have an interest, but we're not distracted. We're not telling them they can't go. We're offering exercises that allow for decision making. And when they just decide on their own, it feels good not to panic. That's just a natural. Another example of it would be a dog that is anxious. This is a very common one. Gets adopted into a home, and it can go either way, but let's use the example of does not like to pee on a walk, does not like to pee or poo, defecate on a walk. And so once we do the exercises in the home and they start to go on a walk, they naturally will begin to do that behavior, to maybe sniff a little bit more. It shows relaxation, that they're comfortable, and there's no reward or motivation, just their brain has got into a state of calmness and processing, and they're happy to be calm and happy to be relaxed, and then they might naturally just pee on a walk. So signs like that, where it's a change in behavior based on their own motivation, their own decision to just relax their brain, and then that, instead of changing the behavior, the emotion changes first based on being able to reset the brain, process, and make decision. The emotion changes, and then the behavior changes. And the behavior is indicative of the emotion.
Oh, thank you so
That was a
much.
long answer, sorry.
Thank you so much for receiving that answer.
Thank you for the question, thanks.
Okay, that's great. Any further questions? Agata, do you have one?
Yeah. I have a question to Kata, the first presentation. And so I was interested in when you showed the pictures of them, a kind of welfare question, I guess, when you showed the movements of the animals being restricted and some of them trying to get out of the situations while others not. And then, so I'm kind of curious about how you understand tolerating, because different species and different individuals even are going to be showing discontent in different ways. So perhaps a dog might feel kind of empowered, I guess we could use that word, to try and get out of the situation, while for other species it might be freezing if they're uncomfortable, not necessarily trying to run away. And if you're using the same measure for different species, what kind of methodology did you employ to correct for these species and individual specific differences?
Thank you for your question. At first, I would like to say that I have experiences with a lot of different pet species, so I kind of know the general outline of behaviors in case of reptiles or different small mammals. And also we had, in case of this interaction variable, we had three main categories: the toleration, a category which would say that they show the affiliative behaviors in response to that interaction, and also there was a trying to escape category. So in case of all of the species, we define toleration by not trying to escape, but also not showing affiliative behaviors towards the owner, so not trying to get closer, not licking the owner's face or showing any signs of enjoyment. They were just simply not moving in the lap of the owner.
But how do you, so I guess my question was, I'm assuming a lizard won't lick the face of the owner, but how do you compare, like how can you compare a lizard to a dog in that respect, as some species will freeze if they're uncomfortable rather than run? So do you have these profiles for like what does discontent look like in a lizard? What would it do if it wanted to like not be in that situation?
For like in case of lizards, I know they are not usually like start to lick the owner in an affiliative situation. In case of like, for example, bearded dragons, you can look at the way they like try to get closer to the owner in a way, so climb up their shoulders, and this shows that they are comfortable in that situation and they want to get closer. And so the tolerance is, as you said, it's a really hard thing to compare in between like companion animals such as cats and dogs and reptiles. So we cannot state anything clearly. Many reptiles, if they are really uncomfortable, try to escape. So we would use this as a baseline, but maybe some of the reptiles we put in the tolerating category could have been like scared in that situation. So we cannot control for it totally.
Thank you very much. Okay, so if anyone has further questions, okay.
Well, I have a question actually to Laura here in the room, but to benefit those online. I came here to ask it. So it is a very interesting paper. I'm a complete outsider, but as a parent, as a dog owner, and once a child, I wonder whether you could separate in your questionnaire the effect of children or children-parent interaction affecting the possibility that attitudes of parents are not as enthusiastic, simply put, if they have small children. Namely, I think that is it possible that some parents only start having pets because their kids torture them and they wanted to have one, while a single person with no children would willingly, primarily, go for that choice. So was that a clear question?
I'm not sure.
So you mentioned parents may buy pets to educate their children or entertain them, but was there any question regarding the children? Did the children want, did they initiate?
No, unfortunately no, we don't have actually the information of exactly for whom in the household the pet is acquired, so it's one limitation, because indeed I wanted to take that into account, that like if whether the parents adopted the pet before the birth of the third child or not, and I don't have this information sadly, so this I couldn't control for. It's just my own interpretation of the results. But so I don't know.
Okay, so the answer was that actually that was not part of the research scheme, but it was very interesting anyway, because your paper is very thought-provoking. And yeah, so that just, I thought it could play some role in there.
I think so too.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And also on the question for Agata, is it Agata or Agata? Sorry.
I say Agata in the middle of an English sentence, but in Polish it's
Agata. If we could just step aside from the studies that you were doing, but I would love to know your personal opinion on whether you agree with the the fellow that said that the macaques were perhaps trying to understand, see things through the human lens. Do you think that they were, some of the photos, it was interesting because it seemed like they were watching the humans walk by, and they were watching the humans, studying the humans as interesting. But on the same note, part of me wants to think that perhaps do they really think that much about us, or do they go on their own, or do you? I'd love your personal opinion on that, because you were there for 2 months.
Yeah, thank you so much for this question. Well, they definitely pay a lot of attention to what the humans do. Like, if you have anything to eat with you, anything to drink, anything that makes a noise, glasses, phones, anything kind of shiny, they will try and grab it. So they really observe people a lot of the time. But as for the perspective, I guess I really come from a much more similar kind of knowledge framework as the scientists I was there with. So personally, I was much closer to the kind of thinking that we don't know, and perhaps maybe even shouldn't know, what really sits deep inside the monkeys' heads, to kind of give them that space. But the kind of reason for this exercise is to acknowledge the fact that as a person coming from outside, I didn't, my kind of knowledge system didn't develop with these monkeys. So I'm interested in what I can learn from people who share a life world with them, and then what kind of learning from both perspectives, because Western science has its own history of unfortunate mistakes. So my interest is in what can happen where the two different perspectives can meet. It's not about uncritically accepting one or the other. And yeah, personally, I definitely think they pay a lot of attention to people. I'm not sure if, at least the way I understand it, I'm not sure if they want to see the way we see. But I don't know, maybe.
Thank you. I just as a quick note, the reason, or part of the reason I was asking, when I was studying street dogs in Costa Rica, I did a study at an intersection of lights to see how they learned how to cross the streets. And sometimes they watched the people's feet, and sometimes they watched the cars, and actually some of them watched the lights, and they could tell, I'm not sure if they could tell the colors, but they could tell where they were, where the light showed up on. So they learned from people how to cross a street. And so it's one thing for, it was super interesting. And some of them sadly didn't learn at all. And that was unfortunate. But anyway, so aside from that, it's interesting that you really noted that they used human tangible products. But I wasn't sure if they were noticing human, human behavior.
There was a really interesting research done by Jay Lecker and his groups on the robbing and bartering behavior with these macaques, and how they can make kind of economic decisions about what they take from people and from whom. So yeah, if you search for robbing and bartering, JP Lecker, you'll find a lot of really fascinating literature. And actually, yeah, they can differentiate between like types of glasses and different human behaviors. So they're really adept at, for example, picking the person from whom they're going to grab the thing. But that wasn't part of this research. We were there to do something different, but that work has already been done, and it's very interesting.
Sounds it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for all.